Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is here, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. I hope everyone's been enjoying a beautiful spring day. I know I have, and I am back with the fifth installment of the Digging Through Discographies with STP. Now, I've already gone over the first four Stone Temple Pilots albums, and tonight I'm going to be going over Shangri-La D-Da. So, first part, how did we get here? Well, Shangri-La D-Da was supposed to be a much bigger album than it actually was. The first thought that was brought out by the band and Scott Weiland was this was going to be a double album dedicated to the memory of Mother Love Bone member and friend of the band, Andrew Wood, who had passed away. He was part of that grunge scene that developed over the decade, and Weiland wanted to do a double album dedicated to the memory of him, but was vetoed by Atlantic Records. The next thing that they wanted to do was they wanted to do a Beatles-style documentary, kind of like Let It Be, where it would be set in their beach villa turned recording studio, where it would show the pre-production, how the songs were made, and all the bloopers and stuff like that, and very artsy scenes. A couple of the particular scenes that would have been in there was either Dean or Robert playing an old organ in a secluded wing of the villa, or Robert and Scott playing wonderful acoustically, and some totally awesome rock out live stuff in the main recording space. This was supposed to be headed by a photographer known as Chapman Baller, who had also shot with SCP for years, and were already working on a coffee table book with his sister Rebecca Baller. Unfortunately, none of this panned out. Not sure exactly why, most likely either due to poor planning, not enough time, not enough money, or Atlantic Records shutting it down in general. That just keeps the band to the album that they had, which had two singles, Days of the Week, dropped on January 1st, 2001, and Hollywood Bitch on September 3rd, 2001. The album was released on June 19th, 2001. So with the background out of the way, let's talk a bit about the music. This album is one of the more eclectic and more diverse albums on the STP discography. The closest thing I would tie it to is Tiny Music. You get a lot of different things to choose from. Do you want some harder rock songs? Try Dumb Love or Coma, or a little bit of Hollywood Bitch, Regeneration, Long Way Home, and in the middle of that, kind of Transmissions from a Lonely Room, as well as Black Again. Those all fit that kind of either alt rock or harder rock space, but you also do get some more psychedelic stuff, like a little bit of Transmissions from a Lonely Room, Too Cool Queenie, which kind of mixes that a more psychedelic rock sound, Wonderful, that has a little bit of psychedelic rock, Hollywood Bitch on the choruses, and Days of the Week definitely have that more psychedelic rock sound. And then finally, looking for something a little bit lighter, more acoustic ballady idea, you have Wonderful, you have Hello It's Late, and you have a song for sleeping, as well as Bipolar Bear. That's not to say that everything is amazing, but comparatively to the previous album, this one has a lot more that you can pick and choose from. In terms of the rock stuff, it doesn't hit the highs of Core or Purple because, again, Weiland can't produce the low register the way that he wanted to back in the day. But he does an admirable job, probably because these arrangements aren't as heavy, but are just heavy enough to give him being able to go back to kind of his Purple days with a little bit of splash of Alice in Chains in there. The beginning song, Dumb Love, is a great homage to Cracker Man in style, but it's a little bit darker. I do enjoy a lot of this song. It's a fun opener. One of my favorite things is the way that he elongates the melody by putting a space between some of the words and then getting to that word itself. The chorus itself is really fun too, and it has him using, I believe, an octave above harmony. I believe it's him, which, if it is, nice job. The other harder rock songs work well in terms of his voice too because of the arrangement. Coma being one where they're not really playing any guitar during the parts where he's singing in the verses, and therefore he gets to be more sedated and more soft. The choruses do hit harder, but it works well enough because it's not something that is long enough to be showing its flaws. You know, if it was much longer and more legato ideas, I think it wouldn't work, but because he's doing really fast and repetitive ideas, I think it works in his voice as well. Hollywood Bitch, another one that does have a little bit more rock center to it, does work because he only does it during the verses. However, I will say some of the harmonies on there are a little bit weird, but once it gets over to the more psychedelic chorus, he gets to use his more natural voice at the moment, and from there it works perfectly. However, I'll say the other two songs that kind of fit this mold are a little bit weird. Regeneration is one that is really weird to me because it reminds me of Silver Gun Superman, but the way that Whelan is singing, it kind of has this feel of, I don't know how to explain it other than like him kind of singing more reggae-ish, and it's really weird to me. I don't think I have a better way of putting that other than that particular style. And then Long Way Home, we'll get to Long Way Home in a little bit. I have a bone to pick with that particular song. Other highlights on this album, to me, Hello, It's Late is a fantastic, beautiful, mostly ballad song with the first really good bass line on the album. Fortunately, that means that we're already halfway through the album, and this is the first one that stands out. It's beautiful. The melody is fantastic on this particular song. The harmonies work so well together. There's a lot of psychedelic / jazzy ideas on this song, and it's one of the more simplistic arrangements, but one that works so well. Another one like that is a song for sleeping. Another one of these lighter songs, though the weird thing to me about this particular one, it does have this use of more R&B / hip-hop drum beat that you would hear in the late 90s / early 2000s, that it's fine because I can get around that, but I would say it does make that song feel pretty dated. But again, like the previous one I just talked about, the melody is beautiful and the harmonies behind it are fantastic as well. A lot of these more sedated songs work the best. Wonderful, again, is another one of these ones, and another beautiful arrangement, another beautiful melody line that's really cuts deep, both musically and lyrically. It is a little bit weirder because it doesn't necessarily fit an acoustic feel. It's a little bit more just ballady, kind of like a 90s Aerosmith song, but it's another one that stands out. And then the last two that I want to go over is Too Cool Queenie, which is the most psychedelic rock song on here. It's really fun, and I love the slowdowns on the beginning of the choruses or around the choruses. The harmonies are fun, and it just seems like they had a really fun time on this song. And then Days of the Week, of course, the actual good single from this album. Melody's good. I like the guitar work on here. In terms of cons, though, one, some of these songs just are a little bit too short and don't give enough time to develop a good idea. So for me, Days of the Week is a little bit too short. Too Cool Queenie is too short. Hollywood Bitch feels too short. At the beginning, there's a lot of songs that feel just a little bit too short, and then on the other side, there's some songs that could have been a little bit shorter. That being Bipolar Bear could have probably been a little bit shorter. A Song for Sleeping could have been a little bit shorter. A Long Way Home could have been a little bit shorter. If you made the equivalent exchange there, I think it would have worked a little bit better. And then bass-wise, there's not a lot of very memorable Robert bass lines. Other than, honestly, Hello, It's Late or Too Cool Queenie, there aren't a lot of here that just stand out to me. One last thing, I did talk about the more modern sound on A Song for Sleeping. Coma also does that too with its use of turntables, which is a little bit weird to me. Kind of makes the arrangement a little bit more annoying. But all in all, from there, I can't really complain too much about arrangement ideas. I like the experimenting on a lot of songs, even if it doesn't work on Black Again or Song for Sleeping or even Bipolar Bear or Transmission from a Lonely Room. I feel like there's a lot of experimenting on here that doesn't necessarily hit the mark sometimes, but I commend the actual experimentation. Lyrically, this album has the standards of what we've already talked about over the past 3 albums. Dumb Love talks about the give and take of debauchery and the moral consequences, which probably is talking about Whelan's actual drug use. But a lot of these do touch on his relationship, like we've talked about in the past. Days of the Week is talking about a dysfunctional relationship where it takes a toll on both people, which, may be talking about one of his past relationships or one of his past marriages. A lot of these ballads do have a lot of great lyrics on here. Wonderful is talking about a near-death experience that Whelan is having and wanting to let his wife know how much she means to him and how much he wants to change if he's able to get, better. Black, again, is talking about on the other side where Whelan's second wife and her problems and how he's here for her during those times. And then actually somewhere a little bit in the middle is Hello It's Late, where there's a fight between Whelan and his wife, which we actually don't know which one it is. It could be either Julia or Mary, because this particular song was actually meant to be on Purple, but they couldn't find the space for it, which I think is very interesting that such an amazing song, and my favorite song on the album, is one that could have easily been on Purple. Just imagine how great Purple would be with that one too. But it's a fight between Whelan and his wife, and how they're longing for the past, but they know that they can't go back to the easier times. So another song talking about relationships, but this is actually the first time where we see maybe a better place for Whelan. What I mean by that is, on the song For Sleeping, this is a song about finding joy and happiness in his newborn son, while also hoping to find forgiveness and salvation by being a dad. And in this album, he's really reflective on his past mistakes and wanting to be better, whether it's on a song For Sleeping, or if it's Wonderful, or being there for her on Black Again, and understanding where his place is now that he is a father and in another marriage. There are also some songs, weirdly enough, about Courtney Love. And not that it's weird that he talks about her, but it's weird when he's doing it. A lot of these songs are painting Courtney Love as a monster, in particular because, of course, if you know anything about this scene, when Kurt Cobain passed, there were a lot of people who believed that Courtney Love was the one who caused his murder, rather than him dying by suicide. Now, wherever you are on that fence, that happened in mid-1990s. This is now 2001. It's weird to see him talk about Courtney Love in such a way on a lot of these songs. Songs like Coma, where it's talking about a darker side of someone that no one sees, which could be about his relationships, but also could be about Courtney Love, what people saw and what he knew. Hollywood Bitch is about Courtney Love and Whelan's feelings about her. Too Cool Queenie is his relationship with both Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, and just the story in an allegorical kind of way. And Transmissions from a Lonely Room could be about Whelan's first wife after their divorce, and just talking about how trying to make over yourself in a superficial way won't change who you are as a person, but that also could be a snide comment to Courtney Love. From there is also one other one I want to talk about, and one that kind of gets you to where he is in terms of how he is a very addictive personality type of person, and that is Bipolar Bear, which is talking about Whelan's dealing with his bipolar disorder and how he needs to, self-medicate himself, and sometimes when that doesn't happen, other bad things happen. So, all over the place, this is less about his addictions and more about the relationships that he has grown, and looking back on them in a negative way with Courtney Love, but also in a positive way, or sometimes a more longing way with his marriages, as well as his relationship with his son. Last thing, how's the flow of this album? Well, I think the flows pretty well. I think the actual mixture of songs between harder stuff and more ballady stuff works very well. It is definitely much better flow than number 4, in my opinion. I like the experimentation on here, even if sometimes it doesn't work. At least brings in a new and interesting arrangement. I'll say Coma and Dumb Love being pretty close to each other doesn't really work that much. I think it could have been better spaced out, especially because there aren't as many harder rock songs on here, and then the next hardest rock song would be Regeneration after that. Maybe spaced out a little bit more, but I like the spacing out between everything, where you're not really having a bunch of string of ballads, or you're having a bunch of string of rock songs. I'll say once you get to the bottom half Regeneration, Bipolar Bear, Transmissions from a Lonely Room, and Long Way Home all are in my bottom half of the album. So the bottom half of the album isn't as strong as the top half, but A Song for Sleeping is the second to last song, and it works very well. The singles, not bad, not the most memorable stuff on there, but I would say a problem there is they aren't spaced out well. The second song is Days of the Week, the fourth song is Hollywood Bitch, so you don't really have them much spaced out. The biggest problem though for me is Long Way Home. Haven't talked about it yet, now I finally will. Lyrically, musically, also flow-wise, it's a weird song. This song is the closest to a song off of Core or Purple. So it's a harder rock song, and it's the slowest song on the album. It's very sludgy, it's very plotty, and the lyrics are about, you know, either a drug trip or some crazy thing happening and they need to get home. And it just so weird and out of place compared to everything else. It's not a bad song on its own. I enjoy it for what it is, and it's a fun ride. I like the solo at the end. However, after the string of songs that just were before it, heck, even the song A Song for Sleeping, where it's in that moment where he's realizing he could find salvation through his son, and now to have a song that might be about a drug trip, it's weird. It doesn't really fit, and to me that's one of the weirdest parts of this album, and one that leaves a sour taste in my mouth afterwards. If you are going to listen to this album, just end at A Song for Sleeping, and I think it will be a much better overall experience. Comparatively to number 4, this is where this gets a little bit tricky. Of course, this album does not touch any of the first 3 albums. There are some great experimental ideas, and this is very diverse, but it doesn't have the memorable songs the way that the first 3 albums do. And there are way too many experimenting ideas that just don't pan out. However, when we talk about number 4, this is where a debate actually can happen. On the pros of number 4, the song Sour Girl is one of the best songs that they have created, and from there you do have an incredible song to latch onto. But the cons of there are there's way too many songs that I hear that don't have an interesting arrangement, or I can compare to much better songs from much better albums of theirs. Shangri-La doesn't have that standout single, and I would say there aren't really many standout songs on this album. However, when I compare it to the other one, the collection of songs is much more solid and much more interesting, even if it doesn't always pan out, than the cookie cutter songs of number 4. Yes, I love Atlanta. Yes, I think I Got You is a fun song. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the songs on number 4 are just very plain to me. And even though I'm not a huge fan of every single song on this album, Shangri-La I think edges it just a smidge. I think it's also because of the lyrical content and just the more open and more willing to be open to the audience, the way that we haven't heard yet. So for that reason, my order is number 5 is number 4, number 4 is Shangri-La, number 3 is Core, number 2 is Tiny Music, and number 1 is Purple. So we gotta go over the aftermaths of this particular album. This album peaked at number 9 on the Billboard 200. Days of the Week peaked at number 4 on the mainstream rock tracks and number 5 on the modern rock tracks. Hollywood Bitch peaked at number 25 on the mainstream rock tracks and number 29 on the modern rock tracks. So this album actually was certified gold, which made it the 6th certified album by the RIAA. Now, you can debate on if you think that's a success or not. If you are someone who thinks it is, it's because of the lack of marketing advertising that this album actually got and the airplay that it got. It still was able to still get certified gold. On the con though is these last 4 albums at least achieved platinum, and 3 albums before that you still had incredible sales, whether it's Tiny Music with 2 times platinum, Core with 8 times platinum, or Purple with 6 times platinum. Comparatively, this is a disappointment. At that point, marketing support from their label was reportedly minimal, and the band decided to put a hold on any future albums. However, the band recorded All in the Suit That You Wear which was supposed to be the lead single to the soundtrack of the 2002 film Spider-Man. However, that was not the case because, as you probably all know, Chad Kroeger's Hero was the one that was chosen for that particular film. And this is where things start falling apart a little bit. Despite reports that the band had begun work on a sixth studio album in 2002, the band had dissolved by the end of the year, after reports of an altercation between Dean, DeLeo, and Whelan after the last shows of the Stone Temple Pilots' fall 2002 tour. As a capstone to the band's career, Atlantic Records released a greatest hits album, Thank You, with a bonus DVD of archived material and music videos in 2003. But that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. If you do enjoy this video or this album, give this video a like. Let me know what you love or hate about the album. Share this with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel if you do enjoy what I am doing. That would be the best thing that you can do so that you show your support and your future support. And finally, just keep on watching my videos. So I will be back with 4 videos this coming week. That doesn't mean, though, that they're going to be 2 RU wins. Actually, I'm going to be saving that for the following week. But I do have something special for you I'm going to be dropping on Sunday. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet. Just for hints, think about what's premiering on this following Sunday, and you might get a guess as to what I'll be doing. But until then, this is the Music Fan, and I'm signing off.